This is TWiP. Hey folks, welcome back. We're continuing with my discussion with commercial photographer Rob Grimm. We've been talking in the first episode about his embracing of AI and how it's able to let him do things that he wasn't able to do before in his commercial photography, beverage photography business. That first piece was a discussion, hence podcast. This piece is a show and tell. So Rob's going to bring up some images and take us through how they were built and his mindset and the client and all that good stuff. Rob Grimm, you ready? You ready for some show and tell, my friend?
Yeah. Let's do some show and tell. And let's blow up this first image. So this is Vim and Pedal, as I was mentioning. And you know, again, this allows me to create a background that I just couldn't make before. So here, I was really playing off of the natural tones of the cap, the natural tones of the label, the gold of the label, and the black. And you see that reflected in the artwork in the background and in a lot of the furnishings, right? Like the rattan or woven lights are really kind of reflecting that tone as well. So they're all kind of in the same family and really speaking to each other. And one of the other things I did is I threw in some of the actual botanical names that are inside of the gin. I picked like 3 or 4 of them, and I put that into my keywording as well. And I used, Japanese minimalism, as I said, to kind of create this scene that really felt right for me. Now, a couple of things that I want to point out. When you look at like this line of stools here on the left, and then this line of 2 stools or this pairing of stools on the right, they all just kind of fit. And this is the magic of having multiple versions of something, because I was able to kind of build this set, which is really simple. I've got this white surface, which is kind of mimicking the surface in back, what's going on. I've got, a gold tray with a white tray on top of it. And what's really critical is when you look here inside of the bottle, all the stuff in the background is coming through. These shelves are coming through here on the far left side. Even though they're on the right side in the back, they're coming through here on the left side. And you see the painting in here. And then actually this like kind of branchy thing, well, guess what? That's this branchy thing right here in the background. And again, it's coming through in the base. You see the stools reflected in those glasses. Try to do that in post-production. Try to do that and make that look convincing in post-production, because you're not going to be able to do it and you're just going to give up. You're going to put something else there in its place. The other thing that's happening is changing the color of the actual cocktails, right? Like it's affecting what's going on in the cocktails. We've got the light gleaning on it that I'm creating because I'm wanting to, push light down into this and make it feel like it marries the scene. I just don't know how I could have really created the set in such a fast and efficient manner than using AI. I could certainly go into some sort of a bar and shoot it, and I could come up with something cool. I could certainly build a set in my studio, but this just allows me to do something much, much quicker. And things are just getting better for me. Like I have not used Magnific yet with this, so it's going to be getting even better as I continue to move forward with this stuff. And it's just, I love it. I think it's really. You've mentioned
Magnific in our previous episode. You mentioned Magnific a couple times. What is that software? What does Magnific do for you?
It's basically an upscaler and a detailer. So it will go through and it will say, okay, I'm going to blow this image up, but I'm also going to look at all the little parts to it, and I'm going to decide what they are, and I'm going to help enhance it. Now you wind up using your same prompt that you put into Midjourney. So I literally go back to my original image, I copy my prompt, I take that and I put it into Magnific, and I let Magnific, and I'm probably saying that wrong, so if I am, please forgive me, but then you let that AI do its magic based on those same keywords and goes, oh, okay, so these need to be orange flowers and blah, 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 and it just adds in this detail, and the before and after is really, really incredible.
Wow.
It's just,
cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Something else to buy. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Well, you know what? If you're not used to buying things now in the photography business, you're in trouble, because this business is always expensive. And there's always something to buy. It's just
Absolutely.
It's just the way it is. All right. So this is another image that I did for Angel's Envy. And I I kind of heard through the grapevine that even Angel's Envy was getting a little bit tiresome of the angel wings, right? They're kind of tattooed on too many people's backs, and angel wings seem to be hanging on the wall of every esthetician's office in the country. It's like angel wings are kind of overplayed. So I guess even they're a little concerned about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I heard. So I wanted to come up with something to me that was representative of the feel and the movement of angel's wings without being angel's wings at all. And I wanted to come up with something that really reflected the colors of the actual liquid as well as the labeling. So that gold and that deep kind of amberish brown. I wanted something to speak directly and almost make kind of monochromatic in that sense, where it's in the same color palette. I guess monochromatic isn't really the right term, but it's duotone. It's just a couple colors, and I'm trying to keep it all in that palette. So by using AI, I was able to come up with this background, this kind of swirling spiral graphic, interwoven rays of light in alternating colors of yellow and amber. And I'm like, okay, I think we're getting somewhere. So like when I look at at kind of the shape of the wing back here, the way it kind of curves in the bottle, I'm starting to see that here as we're getting, into the background that's created, and it's mimicked on this side. So again, I don't know how I would have created this image. Like if I had been given a marker comp or a sketch by a creative director saying, make this, I'm not exactly sure how I would pull this off, because this has luminosity. It's coming through the bottle. It's and I can control it. It's just a very different way of working and thinking. And this is an example of one where I'm using a sheet of black plexiglass, and I've got it butted up against the background. So if you look at these lines, the way they come down here, they actually meet and then they reverse because it's kind of mirrored out. Now, it's not a true mirror. It's not that high polish reflection. It's muted because it's black plex, but it's shiny black plex. So it is reflecting quite a bit.
Beautiful.
Kind of cool.
So in this shot, just to make sure I understand what's happening here, there's a foreground, the bottle, that black plexiglass that the bottle is sitting on top of, and that horizon line that we see back there is the end of the black plexiglass. Yeah. Everything beyond that in the background is the LCD. Yeah.
So the plexiglass is literally butted up against the monitor, and then that going up, that is all monitor. So this is reflection. And in this case, I'm actually pretty close to the monitor. I bet that bottle is 10 or 11 inches away from the monitor itself. So it was fairly far back there.
Yeah. And the monitor itself, Rob, what is that? Is that a smaller kind of 4K monitor?
No, oh God, no. A smaller 4K monitor wouldn't work because I wouldn't have the distance that I need. So I'm actually using a 65 or 75 inch LG, and I use their C series. They're really nice. They're rich. They're OLED. They're not LED. They're OLED monitors. They've got really deep, rich blacks, which is something that's really important. One of the things that's challenging is lighting. Because you can't reflect onto the surface of the monitor because that kind of screws everything up, right? Or you can do multiple captures, but I'm trying to capture it all pretty much in one. So you have to be very conscious of the monitor. A high-end small monitor for me wouldn't work. You'd have to have pretty small products to shoot in front of something.
Right, right.
You couldn't do it. For me, I couldn't do this on a 21-inch monitor. I'd have to be shooting like drawer pulls or doorknobs or something,
But like this just boggles the mind, man, because I look at this and then my brain goes to, the portraiture, right? So now because this is basically a similar technology to what they're doing or what they did when they filmed The Mandalorian with the virtual 100%. Set and you're on a smaller scale. You're just basically doing the same thing they're doing. So I'm thinking in my head all the different genres that might be represented or might make this kind of thing make use of it. Portraiture, even macro. Right? I mean, you can get into doing stuff like this with a smaller display. If you have a small display at home, doing some macro type shots that don't require the big expanse 75, 65 inch display. right?
That's right. You could indeed. You mentioned the Mandalorian. That is really what inspired me to switch from Duratrans to using OLEDs. Is the Mandalorian technology? It's phenomenal. It's absolutely amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll link to that. I'll link to that. There's a behind the scenes that I think you saw of the Mandalorian. I'll link to that YouTube video in this blog post as well.
You know what? I want to jump down.
Look at all that.
Yeah. I wanted to look for another image that I had, and it's not in this particular section. I'll have to find it. Maybe I'll go back to it. But I actually used 3 monitors, and I not only had an image in the background, but I also had images on the sides reflecting into the bottle because I really wanted to give it a lot more depth and have it wrap around. We'll go back. Maybe it's on the main beverage site, or maybe I don't even have it up right now. I don't know. That's scary. Sorry. I mentioned that, and then I don't have the ability to show it to you. That's terrible.
Have you thought about adding motion to these? Because you have the power to add motion, right?
Yeah. In fact, I've shot motion with the monitor in the background, and I've shot motion where my camera's moving, and so is the background, which helps me to kind of exaggerate space, which is really pretty cool. And that's something that's just going to grow. And quite frankly, with AI filmmaking and where that's going to go, I know that that's going to be an area for me as well, to not only create scenes, but to make them move, and then to make them move with my camera. So again, I'll be creating something in AI that's moving, but it will become a practical and become part of my set.
Love it. The evolution. Yeah. It starts here, my friend. It starts here.
Yeah. So this is another image, and I think I was talking about it before. This haiku bottle, man, how in the world would you do this in post-production? When you look at this bottle, this is a complicated bottle. It's got all these twisted flutes down here, right? But the top is pretty clean. Above the label, there's no more fluting. Now, what's happening in the bottle is the background on the right is reflected on the interior of the left of the bottle, and the background on the left is reflected on the interior of the right. So it has that refraction and it moves over. That is something that would be very, very difficult to do in post-production. And the lines up here are going to be very different than what's going on down here because the bottle shape is different. So I just don't know how, I don't know how I would create this kind of thing not in AI. And I also don't know how I would completely create this in AI because I can't get AI to create an accurate haiku bottle. Not that I've tried, but I've had to create cocktails and stuff, and they're weird, and they're off, and they're not quite right. So, that's the other thing for me about AI. AI can't render my product, which is maybe a distinction with what people are doing when they're doing lifestyle and they're doing portraits that are in AI. AI can generate that product. AI cannot generate an accurate haiku vodka bottle. It's going to screw it up somehow. It's going to add those, hot dog fingers, or it's going to do something weird to the bottle, and it's just not going to be real. So again, I think that's what
Getty's trying that though, right? Or isn't Getty trying to go down that route? Because they're building their own. They've either built or are building their own sort of generative AI model based on
they have
the
built their own.
images.
That's right.
Yeah, where you can, with the idea being you as a client could come in and say, hey, I need to put this can in a background, and you go pick a background and put your can in there, and it kind of puts, I don't know. I don't know if it works or if it's, ready for prime time yet or what?
It's not ready for prime time yet. I think it's got a ways to go, and I still don't know exactly how it's going to work. Then we might get into the territory where we are starting to eliminate some jobs. But it's got to be really accurate. Brands are very particular about the way their bottles, their cans, their products look. That stuff cannot look faked. And something like this particular background on this haiku bottle. So this is clearly fantasy, right? I mean, it's almost Tron-like. It's definitely not a room. It's not a cocktail bar you can go into, but it is a different way to tell a story. It's a different way to grab attention and to pull people in. And I think that's the other thing that for me that's cool about AI. we are inundated with images now, right? It's what, 12 billion images a year that potentially can cross each individual's eyeballs. It's an enormous amount of imagery for us to take in. So how do you get people's attention? Especially people who are now used to looking at something for only 3 seconds and then they swipe and they keep moving on, right? That's a very difficult thing to do. So for me to have another tool in which I can make people stop and I can make them go, what is going on there? Like, that's important. It's important for me to make the viewer inquisitive. It's important for me to make the viewer wonder and ask questions, because now I've got them. And now they're going to learn something, or they're going to remember something about the brand that I'm presenting, the brand I'm selling. That's a really key thing for me. And AI is giving me a new opportunity to do that in a different way.
Yeah, and it's like the audience. There's multiple audiences, but two main audiences I see. There's let's call them the non-photographers that just look at things on face value, and they know things that they like when they see it, and they're not exactly sure why they like it. It may be because it has symmetry or the colors or the composition or whatever, but it speaks to them, but they don't know why. Then there's the photographers that want to know how the sausage was made, and they're going to pixel peep and look at every little refraction and all that stuff in the shot. You play towards the first group, right? You're not, I don't, like the second group, the educational Rob Grimm might play, right? Where I'm going to teach you how to do this stuff and you can do it. But I think it's important for people to remember that the stuff that photographers are shooting, or the subjects that we're shooting, and the resultant image is not for other photographers. It's for the client, right?
That's right.
So people get caught up in that echo chamber of, it doesn't look realistic, or this or that or whatever. But the reality is, if it speaks to the client, then you win, right? But if it doesn't speak to other photographers because they don't believe in what you did or the tools you used, who cares? You don't get to choose my paintbrushes, right?
That's like I said earlier. I'm not making images for me. I'm making images for my client, and that's a very clear distinction. I'm also not making images for other photographers. And if they don't like what I've created, or they think it's unreal, or they want to pick it apart, okay, you can pick it apart. Again, I don't care, because I know I'm working hand in hand with my clients. I know that I'm understanding their brand strategy. I know I am being inquisitive about what it is that they want to accomplish, and then I'm trying to do that by elevating what they do with my game. So I kind of don't care about other photographers' games in that respect. I do want other photographers to get better. I want to compete on a level of competence, not on a level of speed and cheap price, right? Like, I want to be not only good at what I do, I want everybody else to be good at what they do too, which is why I've been happy to share my knowledge, because I'll compete with you on lighting, and I'll compete with you on composition and the way I handle clients all day long. I don't want to compete with you on cheap price and cheap techniques, I guess is the deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very cool. It's a race to the bottom, right?
Yeah, right. I don't want to race to the bottom. I want to stay at the top.
Stay at the top. Titanic can be at the bottom. We want to stay on the surface.
All right, so you want to look at one? You tell me how much time we have, but we can certainly look at one.
Let's look at one more. Yeah, let's look at this one and take. I love this shot. This is so warm.
Yeah, so this shot is kind of interesting. Now, I was going for this kind of Art Deco background, right? I was playing off of that idea, and I was calling out certain things like sconces on the wall, but not exactly what has been created here. Like, that is not what I called out, but I did call out the lighting. I did call out the camera perspective. I called out the colors. I was talking about having these rounded seating booths, which it created these kind of funky things. So I'm thinking about all of my lighting and my camera angle way early, right? Like, I'm pre-producing this. I'm creating a background that has all of my thought processes of production in mind very early in the process. So I've got these lights back here, and I'm kind of seeing what's going on. There's kind of this good glow here, which is helping with the glow in the bottle. And again, I wanted to have the tones be all tied together. Now, there are a couple things to me that are happening that make this work and make this real. One, when you look inside the cocktails, that background is flipped upside down and refracted in the cocktail, right? That happens in real life. So that AI background has now become a practical element, and it's physically affecting the cocktails, and that's really key. The other thing is, I got to make the lighting merry, right? I've got to have some of this quality of this pooling of light, which I'm replicating here intentionally on this side of the label where it's kind of next to that. And then when you look at the cocktails here, you see these 3 bands of light that I've used Pavo tubes in order to create 3 bands of light that are reminiscent or mimicking the 3 bands that are the center of the sconce in the background. So again, I'm tying it together because I want it to feel real, and it's got to feel real. So I think you can see clearly that AI is just a part of my production process. It's not my final result. In fact, it's a long way from it. It is interesting because it's like, all right, I am doing this heavy-duty pre-production, this heavy-duty pre-visualization where I'm figuring out some of the lensing, I'm figuring out some of the camera height, I'm figuring out perspective, and I'm definitely figuring out where my lighting schematic is going to wind up going in the AI process. And that, I think, is really fun. I think it's really challenging. And again, I think that takes an artist's eye. If you don't know what you're doing as a photographer, how are you going to call that stuff out? How are you going to make that stuff work then when you actually go to make the image? It's not an easy trick.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And looking at that shot in particular, this one right here, one of the things that struck me was the fact that there are no telltale signs of AI in this shot. Right? There'd be no question or presumption that, oh, this was an AI shot. It just looks like a great photograph of some whiskey that I want sitting in a place that I wish I was at. Right? That's what that's what it looks like. So it doesn't even enter into the conversation like, oh, it's AI, which is what you want. It's kind of like retouching. Right? One of the ways I describe retouching is if someone can tell that, or not even retouching, plastic surgery. If someone can tell that you've had plastic surgery and they make a comment on it like, wow, your nose looks great. Your surgeon did a great job. You failed at that point, right? Because no one is supposed to know anything about that. The same with with this, right? No one is supposed to say, wow, Rob, what a great shot. Your AI background is spot on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do get people that I'll talk to every once in a while, and they're like, yeah, I can tell it's AI. It's creative directors. It's people that's been in the business. It's people who really don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're just trying to bust my nuts, It's interesting. But I think for the most part, it's important to work to make AI not look like AI, because it really can, And again, I think that's now with the new versions of Midjourney, and God, if this podcast will continue to air, and how many Midjourney versions will we have come out in this in this next coming year? It's definitely getting better, right? Like people are looking more and more realistic, and then you throw it in a detailer, and you can put even more in there, and the pores just really come to life. Yeah. So it's getting better and better all the time. But if you don't handle AI right, it can look fake, like having a bad plastic surgeon. You're right. You don't want anybody to know that you've had plastic surgery. Nope. You just want to look better.
You just want to look better. You want to feel better, and or burglary, right? If you burglars don't want people to know that they've been there, right? That's the whole point of being a jewel thief, is to get in and out, cat burglar, right? Get in and out, leave no trace. Right?
I hadn't thought of that. Clearly, my mind doesn't think like the hell of yours. But
I just watched Batman. Come on, leave me alone.
Blame it on Batman. Okay.
Well, I was looking for tips, so there you go.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. This is great. Congratulations on doing this stuff. It's fantastic. I'm excited to see what's next and what else you dream up using these techniques, and whatever else comes up, because there will be more tools and different things that you can deploy in your workflow later, right? And it's so great that like photographers like you are they, are, I hate to use the term, I'm going to use it anyway, lifelong learners, right? So you're not shut off to new technologies, because frankly, a lot of people are. No. They're like, I've been shooting on my Mia RB67 for 50 years. I'm going to continue to shoot. It's worked so far. I'm going to shoot my medium format film and scan it in, and it's two sides to that. On the one side, more power to you. If that's what turns you on and gets you excited, that's your ship in the bottle, do it all day long. Don't let anybody tell you differently. The other side of that is, don't be an ostrich, with your head in the sand while all this other cool stuff it just flies right by you and you miss out. So,
for me, I'm really excited about where the business is right now. And I don't know. I've been doing this a long, long time. I could still be shooting on the same camera, like you said, but I like evolving. And the lifelong learner thing, of course. I mean, I want to continue to try new things, but it's also because you're being challenged. And as an artist, you have to be challenged. You have to try new things. Otherwise, you don't grow. You don't get any better. It's a cliche, but, failures do make us stronger. They make us better. That's right. Digging in and trying something new and not knowing if it's going to work, that's a really important thing to do. Keeps you engaged. Keeps your mind sharp, people.
That's right. Yeah. The only way to fail is to not try. Don't show up, and you automatically fail. Rob Grimm,
look at us being a couple of wise old cats imparting all this wisdom on people.
I don't try and feel like Mortimer. What was it, Mortimer and whatever in the Muppet Show, sitting up there, the old man in the balcony hurling insults. So people want to connect with you, they want to see the stuff that you're working on or communicate with you, or if you release some sort of tutorial or something on how to do this stuff, what's a good place for them to keep up with you at?
Well, definitely check out RGG Photo. You can check me out on Instagram or go to rggphoto.com. I need to be better about putting up new stuff, and I promise I'll get better.
You need an AI assistant to do that for you.
I do. I need an AI assistant to do all that stuff, but we can keep in touch with that way for sure. I am thinking about and toying about the idea of doing some workshops or some education in the AI space, because I think, like everything, if it's not done right, there's going to be a lot of problems. And I like teaching. I really do. I love being in front of people, and I actually learn a lot from students. So I think that's a really important thing.
I love it. Yeah, I hear from people in the TWiP community from time to time that beverage photography tutorial you did way back in the day, people still talk about that. People still talk about it, So, that's good. Maybe the techniques are still sound. I think it might be time for a redo of that, though, Rob Grimm. So,
definitely. Considering I have nothing to do with that thing anymore, it might be time for a redo for sure.
Yeah, I think it's 100% time for a redo. So go to Rob's site and follow him. So when he does do that, you can get it. So, cool.
Frederick,
all right, my friend.
Much.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure catching up with you. I'll definitely be in touch because I have some questions, and you and I need to touch base on some of these AI projects we talked about before, like the sort of the administrative side of things. We'll do a brain dump exchange. And,
I think you're going to teach me a bunch of stuff, and I'm excited about it. I really am.
Yeah. Happy to. I'm excited about the whole world of AI and where things are going. I think the things that we've become accustomed to as being state of the art will feel archaic in a year or so, because they don't do certain things, like being able to have a natural language conversation with your computer and have it do things versus it kind of understanding you when you press a button and talk to it, or your car, right? Getting in your car, and your car now has kind of a weird quirky personality and voice, and can talk to you about your schedule and destination and all that stuff, right? I think we're on our way to that, and I can't wait. I just feel like I was born too early. I need to have been born like 15 years later than I was.
Or maybe 10 or 15 years earlier, depending, because there are some rocking things that were happening just a little bit before we were born,
Yeah, there were.
Yeah,
so, not so much. I would leave that one alone. Not so much for me, Rob. So
I don't know. There are a couple of people that I would have loved to hang out with if I was just 5 or 10 years older. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
No, for
I know
sure.
what you mean.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. But cool stuff, man. Thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, definitely be in touch. Have a good rest of your week and a good weekend. And yeah, keep me posted on the stuff that you're putting out. You need a newsletter or something, man, so that I can. I need a passive Rob Grimm IV drip coming in. So I was like, oh, Rob, another shot.
Newsletter. I am so
I
bad
guess that's
about
what
that kind of stuff.
Instagram is, right?
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I'm terrible about Instagram too. I like being here in my studio, just making my stuff and hanging with clients, and it's where I'm happiest.
I love it.
Bottom line.
I love it. All right, my friend. You go do your thing.
Right.
Thank you so much for doing this, and speak soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
This is TWiP.